This podcast is brought to you by Contessa Digital.
Apparently TikTok thinks that I am a member of the Beehive. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Beyoncé well enough, but I definitely would not consider myself to be part of the Beehive. I wouldn't consider myself to be a huge fan of hers. Like, if her music comes on the radio, I'll listen to it, but I've never been to any of her concerts. I never bought any of her merch. So, again, I like her well enough. But TikTok has decided that I must really love her because my timeline lately is full of Beyoncé videos. And one of the things that I realized from seeing all these videos is that whether you like her or not, Beyoncé can teach a lot about the art of seduction and how to be more attractive to people. So that is what I wanted to talk to you about today. Welcome to Confidently Cherished. My name is Keshia Rice. I am a dating coach and hypnotherapist. I help ambitious women learn how to heal from their unhealthy relationship patterns and attract healthy, cherished love. So this whole thing with Beyoncé and my TikTok feed started with the commercial that she had in the Super Bowl. So if you are watching this in the year that I'm recording it, 2024, Beyoncé had a commercial in this year's Super Bowl that was for Verizon. And in the commercial, she is doing all these different things, like just doing the most to break the internet and to break Verizon's high-speed service. And I thought the commercial was very clever, was very cute. This is probably how I ended up on Beyoncé Talk because I liked the video and I let it play a couple of times while I was scrolling through the comments to see what people had to say about it. And the biggest comment that I saw over and over again and that stood out to me so much was, "This is the most I've heard Beyoncé talk in years," in seeing that commercial. That, 30-second, 1-minute commercial. In that time, she is acting, so she says a lot. And this brings me to the point of why, again, whether you are a fan of Beyoncé or not, you have to admit that she has a strong appeal to her audience. Her audience completely loves her, right? And that is what makes Beyoncé so attractive, is in a culture where we have so much easier access to celebrities nowadays, right? Because paparazzi are everywhere to take pictures of them. We see those pictures on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, you name it. The pictures are all out there. These celebrities themselves have social media accounts. Like, just think in the past few years since the pandemic, how many celebrities have started TikTok accounts where you can see them in their home hanging out. You can see them with their friends doing dances with their loved ones. Off the top of my head, I can think of Mario Lopez and Wayne Brady constantly doing dances with their spouses and other family members, right? And the level of access that we have to celebrities is greater than ever. Except we don't get that with Beyoncé. She is very private. She doesn't really do press the way she used to at the beginning of her career. And you really don't hear her talk a lot. People tend to talk for her. I think of, again, this year, the Grammy Awards, where Beyoncé didn't say anything about not winning Artist of the Year, the top award, despite the fact that she has more Grammys than anyone else. But it was Jay-Z who got up on the stage and talked about that, with Beyonce just standing in the audience smiling, right? And this is what makes her attractive and seductive, is the level of access, the fact that it is limited. So we're going to talk about how you use that in your own life. You have to start with this attitude that your time, your energy, your effort are valuable. And that because they are valuable, they don't deserve to be just given, willy-nilly to anyone. People should have to earn the right to be in your presence, the right to get your attention. Back to Beyonce and this Verizon commercial, the only reason why we heard Beyonce talk so much is because I don't know what the deal was, but I'm sure Verizon paid her a lot of money to do that commercial, right? So we have to have that same attitude towards ourselves, that our time, our energy, our attention are valuable. Now, once we have that attitude, we have to start with saying only what's necessary. I see this so often with my clients. They meet a man, they have instant chemistry with that man. And if you've been listening to me for a little while, you know that I say that chemistry is not necessarily an indicator of a healthy relationship. You will often have chemistry with people who are toxic for you. But beyond that, I see so many of my clients get caught up in this chemistry that they start telling their entire life story to a man. And don't get me wrong, there's a time and place. After you've been with someone for a while, after you are in a committed relationship and you've established trust, then yes, telling that person more about your past, being more vulnerable with them is a good thing. But in the very beginning, giving someone your entire life story is giving them the keys to harm you, is giving them the keys to take advantage of you, because you're going to end up telling, all your strengths, yeah, but all your weaknesses, and they're not going to have to work very hard to understand those things. So we don't talk more than necessary by doing things like understanding that no is a complete sentence. If someone asks you to do something that you don't want to do or that you can't do, you can simply say no. And if they ask why, you can say, it's not aligned with where I'm going. It's not aligned with what I'm doing. You have friends who want you to go to brunch at the most expensive restaurant in town, and you are currently saving money to travel. You don't have to tell them that you're saving money to travel. You can say, hey, this brunch is not aligned with my spending plan. So we don't have to give anyone, even friends or family members, the full story on everything in our life. We say what is necessary. And you will notice this with, again, Beyonce. If you look at old interviews of hers, or even, more recent interviews with her, because again, TikTok has filled my feed for some reason with Beyonce. And in seeing those interviews, she answers the question. She's polite, but she does not go into more detail than what is necessary. And when reporters do try to press her on things, she's very coy about it. So get into the habit of cutting yourself off and only saying what's necessary, which brings me to my second point, and that is getting other people to talk. And understanding that one of the best ways that you can use your discernment and spot red flags when you're dating is to make the man feel comfortable to talk. Because once he feels comfortable, he'll be honest in the things that he says, and then you can listen. And you can listen and see if what he values, what he's aligned with, works with what you're aligned with what you value. or you can hear the red flags. This means asking more questions. This means listening fully to the answers and actually listening, not listening just to respond. This means being genuinely interested. This is one of the reasons why when my clients ask me like what type of questions they should ask on dates, I'm always hesitant to give answers because there is value to having certain things, certain topics that you want to talk about and bringing those up in discussion. At the same time, just reading off a list of questions is boring for the person that you're asking these questions to, but it's also going to bore you because you may or may not, just because I think that that's an important topic, you may not be interested in it. Or it might not matter to you how a person feels on that particular stance. And you're also going to be so focused on getting to the next question on your list that you're not listening to the previous answer. So genuinely engage with the person that you're on a date with. Or, even when you're in relationships, even now as a married woman, there are things I don't know about my husband. So when I ask him questions, I do my best to genuinely listen to him, to engage, to look and act interested. And not because I'm trying to put on a show, but because he is my husband and I love him. So I am interested in generally what he has to say. And also sometimes we'll have a conversation and it goes off on a tangent and it's not something that I necessarily care about to begin with. But as we're having the conversation, he starts telling me things about himself that I did want to know, that I am interested in and fascinated by. So knowing that that experience has happened to me more than once, when I have conversations, I try to keep a very open mind and stay interested, stay engaged. So by doing this, you become more attractive because men like to be listened to and heard. We talk a lot about emotional intelligence and healing and trauma and being wounded and all of that. The fact is, while a lot of women are getting their lives together, going to therapy, seeing coaches, doing the work and healing, a lot of men still feel reluctant to do that because they're afraid of how they'll be perceived. They are afraid of being vulnerable because they believe that people will confuse that vulnerability with weakness. So creating a safe space for a man to talk to you is one of the most attractive things that you can do for him. But it also protects you and your privacy because you can keep more of the conversation onto him. The other way that we limit access and therefore become more seductive is being intentional with time spent with people. So again, back to Beyoncé, if you look at her career and what she's up to now, she's very intentional about where she shows up, where she makes appearances, how long she stays. Again, if you saw the Grammys this year, after Jay-Z made his speech, Beyoncé and Blue left the award show early. They didn't stay for the entire thing. So being very intentional about where you're going to be, how long you're going to stay there, and not being afraid to leave early, again, makes you more attractive because you're not giving people as much access. People know that when you are around, you may be there for a little bit, you may be there for an hour or so, but you have no problem dipping out. And because of that, they will seek you out and try to spend what time they can with you. When you are dealing with romantic relationships and dating, how this applies is you don't want your dates to go too long. Leave the person wanting more. Do not make your first date or your second date something that is going to be all day. It also means that you don't just call up someone because you're bored. Resist that urge. Find ways to entertain yourself. And make your time spent with people intentional. You are talking on the phone with a man because you want to get some clarity on when's the next time the two of you are hanging out, right? Or you're talking on the phone because you saw some great plot line on a reality TV show and you're wondering, because of the boundaries you've set, because of the love list that I've told you you need to make on what you want and need in a relationship, that scene from that show sparked a question about that you want to ask this person. So you call them to ask them. But you're not just hanging out on the phone all day. You're not just hanging out all day in general. Even now, again, I'm married and my husband works out of town a fair amount. So even now with our phone conversations, I don't stay on the phone with him like for hours on end. Because if I did, and especially because FaceTime exists, we can have video chats like that. If I just stayed on the phone all the time, well, what's the incentive for him to hurry back, right? And see me? Because he can see me just clear as day on FaceTime and talk for hours. So keeping those conversations to, 20, 30 minutes makes you more wanted. And my final tip for not allowing people to get too familiar with you is to never play hard to get. Instead, you should be hard to get. So many women get caught up in the idea of being in a relationship, of being in love, that they will do dumb things like drop plans they had with friends in order to hang out with a man. Or the second a man calls, they are up and getting dressed and putting on makeup and doing their hair so they can go hang out with him. Even if you really like this person, they should still have to earn time with you. They need to quote unquote compete for time with you. And I don't mean like literally have a competition or make them enter a raffle or something to spend time with you. But you need to have hobbies. Have a good book that you're reading that you don't want to tear yourself away from, so that when he calls, you can say, yeah, I'd love to hang out, but I am going to be busy all day Saturday, so maybe sometime next week will work. And be busy reading your book. Be busy with whatever hobby you have. Spend some time. If you are a corporate girly, have mentors and have time that you spend with them so that you're not available all the time. Have hobbies, volunteer, be active in your church or synagogue or mosque. Have time with your girlfriends, go to networking events so that when you are dating someone and they are making all these plans for you and they are trying to monopolize your time, you genuinely have plans. You genuinely have things that you intend to do. Those things don't even have to be out of the house. When I was single, I had self-care time and I put it on a calendar because putting it on a calendar made it more official to me. And because it was official to me and because it was a thing that was scheduled, I would be dating and men would ask, oh, are you free at this time? And I would tell them, no, I'm not free. I have a previous appointment, a previous engagement. And I did. There was time on my calendar for me to, go get a massage or for me to even stay my behind at home and enjoy enjoy a nice long bath, right? But it was marked on the calendar as a thing. So I honored that thing. And this isn't about manipulation or anything because I don't want you to manipulate. I want you to be honest and authentic and vulnerable. But I also want you to be your best self. And part of you being your best self is you taking this time to take care of yourself, is you taking this time to develop hobbies and interests and to learn. And once you do that, you genuinely will not be able to spend 24/7 with another person, and that will make you more attractive. So make this year all about learning how to be seductive like Beyoncé by limiting the amount of access that people have to you. And let me know how you're limiting the access. I am on social media at Keshia Rice, KESHIA RICE, and you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So yeah, send me a message and let me know how you are dedicating more time to yourself and limiting the access that others get. Love you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Hey there. So you made it all the way to the end of the episode, which means I have two things to say. One, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. And two, you like me. You really like me. So I would appreciate it if you would show that like by subscribing to this podcast so that more people can hear about it and enjoy it as much as you do. And if you want to know more about any of the links that I mentioned on this episode or any guests that I've had, be sure to go to KeshiaRice.com/links. That's KeshiaRice.com/links. I can't wait to talk to you again in the next episode. So see you then.